When Leo came home that night, he brought me a bouquet of yellow roses. This time, I didn't feel the usual happiness. I just looked at them for a moment and went back to what I was doing on my laptop. He didn't seem annoyed. He put the flowers on the table and came over to me, trying to talk. Are you still angry? I already told you. Chloe just got back from overseas. She doesn't have any family here, so it was the right thing for me to host a welcome dinner for her. It was just a normal get together with friends. I didn't invite you because you don't know anyone in my group, and I was worried you would feel out of place. His explanation sounded perfectly reasonable. His friends were all researchers and academics, while I was just a community worker who had recently graduated. I never really felt like I belonged in their world, but Chloe did. She wasn't just his ex-girlfriend, she was also his classmate from college, someone who worked in the same field. It made sense that they would reconnect now that she was back. Even his family was trying to calm me down, making me feel like my anger was just me being childish and unreasonable. But I was tired of being angry and didn't want to argue anymore. I just said, I get it. Then I closed my laptop and started to get ready for bed. Before I could leave the room, Leo grabbed my wrist. Maya, there's really nothing between me and Chloe. We broke up a long time ago. We're adults now. I know, adults can stay friends after a breakup, I said in a flat voice, pulling my hand away to show I agreed. If she's all by herself, then you should take good care of her. Leo seemed a little taken aback by how calm I was. You're really not angry anymore? He asked. We had been a couple for 3 years, and I'd always been bothered by the fact that he stayed in contact with his ex. Over the last year, almost all of our fights had been about Chloe. In my view, an ex should just disappear completely. But Chloe, even from the other side of the world, would call my boyfriend in the middle of the night for long chats. The distance didn't stop them from following each other on social media or having matching profile pictures on Instagram. I had a huge meltdown over it before and demanded he cut all contact with her, but Leo refused. She's just a girl trying to make it in another country, he'd said. Can't you have some compassion? His friends also told me I was overreacting, that the fact they could still talk proved they were over each other. I was made to feel like I was the one being unreasonable. But if that was true, why was his computer still filled with their old photos? Why, after 7 years, did he still have her saved in his phone as Chloe Bear, while I was just listed as wife? I was just tired of it all, especially after seeing Chloe's latest Instagram post tonight. It was a selfie of her leaning on Leo's shoulder with the caption, "Our 10-year promise finally kept." Finally kept. I can't describe the feeling that washed over me. It was as if I had spent all my energy defending a place that was never really mine. It was just a coincidence that Chloe was back and that neither of them was married. When I looked up, I saw Leo watching me with a questioning look. I calmly shook my head and said, "Do whatever you want. I don't care anymore. We're breaking up anyway." It's strange how people work. I had loved Leo so much, but in the moment I decided to let him go, I didn't feel the crushing pain I had always imagined. I had liked Leo since I was a child. My mom and his mom were best friends, and visiting his family during the new year was a tradition. I always looked forward to it because I would get to see him. He was 6 years older than me and would give me candy, teach me how to fold paper stars, and read stories to me. When I finished elementary school, he was leaving for college. I cried and begged him to take me with him. Everyone laughed, and he gently told me, "If you study hard and get into my university, we can be together." I made him promise. I later learned he went to a top university, and I studied so hard to follow him that I made myself sick. I only managed to get into a college in the same city. When we met again, he had changed. He was still nice to me, but in a distant, polite way, like a friendly neighbor. We only saw each other on holidays until my junior year of college, when I hurt my leg and needed a wheelchair for 3 months. He somehow found out and invited me to his apartment to take care of me. Living together brought back all the feelings I had for him. I finally told him how I felt, but he turned me down and started to avoid me. I was so hurt I swore I would never talk to him again. But a few days later, he called me. His voice was shaky, even though he was trying to sound calm. After the call, I snuck out of my dorm and ran to his apartment. The smell of alcohol hit me when he finally opened the door. Leo, who was always so put together, stood there with red eyes, looking down at me. He was surrounded by shadows and looked completely broken. I felt a surge of pity for him and stayed with him that night. From then on, our relationship moved quickly, and we were together for 3 years, even talking about getting married. It all felt so natural that I almost forgot that the reason he was so broken that night was that Chloe had broken their 10-year promise. I decided to break up with Leo in a week, after my parents' visit on Friday. I didn't want a messy scene, especially since our families were so close, and were looking forward to our wedding. As Leo once said, only children end relationships with drama. Adults should handle things with dignity. For the next few days, Leo was incredibly sweet and attentive. He brought me flowers, bought me gifts, and drove me to and from work. When I acted distant, he would try to make conversation to break the tension. He even promised to take me to a play I'd wanted to see when my parents came to town, but in the end, I was the one who picked up my parents from the station alone. Leo called to say there was a problem with his lab data and he'd be late, but he promised to meet us at the restaurant. We waited in the private room he had booked, but he never came. He wasn't there when the play ended either. My mom tried to make excuses for him, holding my hand and saying, "Leo must be really busy. These things happen. Don't be hard on him." My dad agreed. I just forced a smile because a few moments before, I had seen Chloe's new post. It was a selfie from a hotel room with the caption, "Thank goodness for you. Every time something goes wrong, you're always here for me." In the reflection in the background, I could see Leo's tall figure. It was just ridiculous. He had stood up my parents and me to be with his ex. After I dropped my parents off at their hotel, I took a taxi to the location Chloe had tagged in her post. When Leo opened the door and saw me, a look of guilt flashed across his face before he quickly smiled and said, "Hey, what are you doing here?" He put his arm around my waist, leading me inside. "I was just about to introduce you to Chloe." But it wasn't just Chloe in the room. Several of his graduate students were there too. They all looked a bit uncomfortable when they saw me. Leo never liked me visiting him at the university. He said work and personal life should be separate. One of his students, who had once brought some papers to our apartment, recognized me. "This is Leo's fiancé," he said, looking from me to Chloe with a strange expression. Chloe was the first to speak. "You must be Maya, right? I've seen your pictures on Leo's phone. So cute with your little pigtails. I can't believe how grown up you are now." This was my first time meeting her in person. She was just as beautiful as her photos. She took my hand warmly. "You're just as pretty in person. No wonder Leo is so protective and doesn't bring you around. We all teased him about dating the girl next door, you know. So young, and he still went for it. Isn't that a bit predatory?" she said, playfully punching his chest in a way that seemed very familiar to them. I looked at them, and then I couldn't help but laugh. I turned to Leo. "So this is what you meant by being too busy to meet my parents. There are times when you're so let down that all you can do is laugh." I pulled my hand away from Chloe's, and the room went quiet. Leo looked guilty, but Chloe spoke up again. "I had no idea Leo was supposed to have dinner with your parents. We had a last-minute problem with my data, and I asked him to bring the team to help. How about this? Tomorrow, I'll treat your family to dinner to apologize." Her words were polite and left no room for argument. But why would my boyfriend's ex-girlfriend need to be involved in an apology to my parents? Before I could say no, Leo interrupted. "Maya isn't that petty. Today was an emergency. Chloe just got back, and if her data wasn't fixed, she could have lost her job." He looked at me with that gentle expression I knew so well and said softly, "Tomorrow, I'll apologize to your parents properly. After we sort this out, we can all go to dinner together." It was the first time he had ever invited me to one of his group outings. It turned out that all I had to do to be part of his world was wait for a single sentence from him. But now, I didn't want it anymore. "No, thank you," I said. "I came here to break up with you." Leo's late-night work session was cut short. On the drive home, he was silent and cold. "Maya, you were completely out of line tonight," he said as soon as we were inside. "My students were there. What do you think that looked like?" He sat on the couch, angry, his lips pressed together. After a moment, he rubbed his forehead, looking tired. What are my students going to think of you? They'll think you were just making a scene. You complain that I don't take you to these things, but how can I when you act so childish? I cut him off. While he was trying to figure out how to lecture me, I had already packed my suitcase. Standing by the door, I said calmly, I don't care what they think. It's not like I'll be seeing them again. When he realized I was serious, he finally got angry. He walked towards me, his voice louder than I had ever heard it. You're breaking up with me just because I missed one dinner? Yes, I nodded. Because of that, and because I should have done this a long time ago. I should have ended it when Chloe made that first long-distance call, when I saw you two still followed each other everywhere, when I saw your matching profile pictures. The fact that she was on the other side of the world had never stopped her from casting a shadow over our 3-year relationship. Leo seemed shocked that I brought all of that up. His lips trembled. Maya, I don't want to explain about Chloe again, he said. How about this? To make you feel better, I promise I'll keep my distance from her from now on, and I'll take you to all my gatherings in the future. Will that be okay? Hearing him say that, I actually wanted to laugh. Men understand everything. Leo knew I was uncomfortable with his closeness to Chloe. He knew I resented being excluded from his social life. He knew exactly why I was angry, but he just hadn't cared. He thought I was a child who could be calmed with a few promises. Even now, he thought my being serious was just a tactic. I couldn't stand it anymore. I raised my hand and slapped him across the face. Take whoever you want to your gatherings. I don't care. I thought my parents would be upset about the breakup, but when they found out I had moved my suitcase into the hotel room next to theirs, the first thing my dad said was, "Why didn't you call me to come pick you up at this hour?" I hadn't cried when I broke up with Leo, but hearing my dad's words, the tears started to flow. My parents clumsily but lovingly comforted me. When I had calmed down, I asked them why they hadn't even asked what happened. My mom said, "We've seen how much you've liked Leo since you were a little girl. For you to give up on him, he must have hurt you deeply. We support your decision. All that matters is what you want." My dad was even more straightforward. My daughter deserves the best. If some boy wants to break up, so be it. You don't ever have to get married if you don't want to. We can take care of you forever. It was then that I realized they didn't like Leo because he was a great guy they'd watched grow up. They liked him because he was the person I had chosen. I felt so moved and ashamed. My parents were the ones who truly loved me, yet I had given everything up to follow a man to an unfamiliar city. I decided to leave with my parents. I had come to this city for Leo. He had a house and a career here, but I was just starting out as a community worker. It was better to leave now than to stay and struggle. When I went to quit my job, my boss was sad to see me go, but agreed to transfer me to our company's branch in my hometown. After finishing the paperwork, I saw Leo's car parked outside the office. I wasn't surprised. Knowing him, he wouldn't let things end so suddenly. What I didn't expect was to see Chloe in the passenger seat. "Maya, can we talk?" she asked, rolling down her window. "I know this is my fault. I'm sorry things got so messy." She made it sound like I was the petty one for causing drama. "There's nothing to talk about," I replied coldly. "Leo and I are done. We're not even friends." Leo sat in the driver's seat, staring ahead, still looking angry about the night before. His knuckles were white on the steering wheel when he heard what I said. Chloe looked uncomfortable and nudged him. "You upset your girlfriend, and you're just sitting there? Aren't you afraid of losing her?" Her concern was for him, but it just made me feel sick. She always acted like she knew best. She would give him advice on how to handle our fights, telling him to buy me flowers and say sweet things, ending with comments like, "Back in my day, girls didn't need all this. You have to put in the effort or they'll leave you, and don't expect me to take you back." He got out of the car and opened the back door for me politely. "I'm here on Chloe's behalf to explain things," he said, emphasizing her name as if to show how open and honest they were, making me the unreasonable one. It didn't matter anymore. I walked past the car without looking at them. "There's nothing to explain. I don't want to hear it." On my way home, I got a text from Leo. "Maya, if you're going to be this stubborn, then maybe we both need some time to cool off." Even his patience had run out. This had happened before. I remember finding out that a necklace he brought me from a trip was one of two identical ones he'd bought. One for me, one for Chloe. I got angry and we had a huge fight. He said, "Let's cool off," and left for days. I tried to hold out, but eventually I broke down and went to his university to find him. The guards wouldn't let me in. I called him over and over, but he didn't answer. I waited all day until I saw him walking out of the campus. I don't remember how we made up, but I remember crying in his arms, begging him not to leave me. The same tactic was being used again, but this time, I felt nothing. I calmly opened my phone and blocked his number. I thought it would be more painful, but an entire month passed, and I didn't think about Leo once. I used my vacation time to show my parents around the city, then went home to pack and start my new life. It was Leo's mom who found out I had moved back. She asked why I hadn't come back with Leo, but I didn't answer. Soon after, she and my mom started trying to set me up with other guys. I found it both funny and annoying. I kept refusing, but they were persistent, so I finally agreed to go on one blind date. I never expected Leo to show up at the restaurant and drag me out of there. When we got back to my house, both our mothers were sitting on the couch, eating sunflower seeds as if nothing had happened. "How was the date, Maya?" Leo's mom asked. "Leo, as her older brother, you should help her find a good match." Leo looked like he was about to explode. He had driven all this way in a panic, and now his own mother was teasing him. "What kind of mother are you?" he snapped. "Instead of helping me fix things with Maya, you're trying to set her up with someone else." His mom looked at him, confused. "Didn't you two break up? You've known each other since you were kids. If you're not a couple, you're still like family. We're not old-fashioned." I had to stop myself from laughing. It was perfect. Seeing Leo look so defeated, I suddenly understood. They all thought our silence meant we were just taking a break. "I never said we broke up," Leo muttered, not looking at me. "We're just going through a rough patch." But a Cold War doesn't last for 2 months, and I had clearly told him it was over. I played along, acting surprised. "Leo, I thought when you said we needed to cool off, you were agreeing to the breakup. We're adults. We know when to move on." His face went pale. He looked unsteady. It took him a long moment to speak. "Maya," he said, his voice serious, "I never planned to actually break up." "Well, I have thought it through," I said calmly. "I've made up my mind." My calmness seemed to scare him. For the first time, I saw real panic in his eyes. He reached for my arm, his voice trembling. "Maya, if Chloe is the problem, I'll delete her contact. I'll cut her off completely. If you want to meet my friends, I'll introduce you to everyone. No more exes, no more secrets, I promise." He sounded sincere, and I believed him. He was the type of person to keep a promise. He had waited 10 years for Chloe before she broke their pact, and only then did he start a relationship with me. "Give me a deadline," he pleaded. "A month, a year, 5 years. If I ever contact her again, you can leave for good. Just give me one more chance." My own mom was starting to look swayed by his words, but then Leo's mom jumped in. "Prove what? That you're going to mourn someone like they died?" she said sharply, pointing at me. "My Maya is young and beautiful. She doesn't need to waste her time on an old tree like you." Leo was shocked. "Mom, am I even your son? You always said you wanted Maya as a daughter-in-law?" "I like Maya," she replied, "but I also respect her decision. If you let a great girl like her get away, that's your fault. I can't force her to be part of our family." Then she dragged Leo away, telling him not to embarrass himself anymore. I found out later that she had called him that night after our fight, and after hearing his side of the story, hung up on him. He thought she was on his side, but a few days later, she was the one suggesting he help find me a new boyfriend. Leo did try to contact me again after that. He sent friend requests and messages, asking to talk. I accepted one request but didn't reply. Instead, I sent him a screenshot of Chloe's recent posts. In the months since I'd left, Leo had appeared in every single one. They were doing experiments together, having dinner, and most recently, Chloe was eating a meal he had cooked in the apartment we used to share. I didn't give him a chance to respond. I blocked him again. After all, a good ex doesn't cause trouble. We lived in different cities and our paths didn't cross. I only heard about him from my mom. He dated a few other girls, but nothing lasted. My mom would tell me this gently, as if she were afraid of hurting my feelings. I thought Leo would stay single for a long time after you left, she'd say. I didn't expect him to move on so fast. I would just smile. He broke up with them all, didn't he? You can't expect him to stay single forever just for me. This just shows we've both moved on. It's easy for you to say, she'd sigh. But you haven't dated anyone in years. Your aunts introduced you to so many nice men. I paused my typing and smiled at her. Who says I haven't moved on? I went from a project assistant to a vice manager. I even have a stake in the company. If my work was a man, I'd already be married to it. She would scoff, but my parents had always supported me, and in the past few years I had built a happy and fulfilling life for myself. Then I saw Leo again at my cousin's wedding. I was a bridesmaid, and he was there as a college friend of the groom. He wasn't alone. Chloe was with him. They both looked uncomfortable when they saw me. I, on the other hand, felt nothing. I didn't even say hello and just went about my duties. During the reception, a young woman stormed up to their table. Leo, are you serious? She yelled. You bring your ex-girlfriend to a wedding instead of me? Babe, let me explain, Leo said, trying to calm her down. She just came with me. Chloe is just a classmate. Everyone here knows her. But the girl wasn't listening. She slapped Chloe across the face, and the wedding descended into chaos. Later, I found that same girl crying by herself outside. I was going to walk away, but I couldn't. I offered her a ride. Thank you, she sobbed. I didn't mean to ruin the wedding. I'll pay for any damages. After she calmed down, she looked at me and said, I've seen you before, in a picture on Leo's computer. She continued, I don't hate you, but I can't stand Chloe. She's always around him, claiming they're just friends. I looked for you on his social media, but I couldn't find you anywhere. Her directness made me laugh. Of course you couldn't find me. I blocked him on everything. She looked surprised. Did you break up with him because of Chloe? She asked. We stopped at a red light. I turned to look at her. She was young and innocent. No, I said, as the light turned green. It wasn't because of Chloe. She looked skeptical, but before she could ask more, I added, It was because of Leo. You can't wake up someone who's pretending to be asleep. She was quiet for the rest of the ride. When we got to her hotel, Leo was waiting outside. He looked startled to see me. Thank you for bringing her back, he said through the car window. I didn't answer. I just watched as he tried to coax the girl out of the car with the same gentle tone he used to use on me. But she wasn't having it. She got out of the car and calmly broke up with him. Leo didn't follow her. He just stood there for a moment, then turned to me. He had a complicated look on his face, a mix of regret and understanding. So now you finally believe me, he said, with his old, self-righteous tone. Chloe and I were never going to happen. I smiled at him. And what difference does that make? Seeing him speechless felt good. I felt a little smug watching him get embarrassed at the wedding. Maybe I shouldn't have, but I thought, you deserve that, Leo. I smiled wider. You and Chloe aren't possible, and neither are we. I wish you the best. And with that, I walked away. Later, my mom told me that the girl from the wedding had broken up with Leo. Before she left, she sent all of his chat logs with Chloe to his university and her workplace. While he hadn't technically cheated, the scandal damaged his reputation. He was moved from his academic position to a logistics role. He fell into a slump and eventually married Chloe after she got pregnant. His mother was furious and flew to the Capitol to tell him she would never accept Chloe into the family. A few years later, after I got married, my husband and I went to visit Leo's mom for the new year. I saw Leo there. His daughter was 5 years old. He looked tired and worn down. His daughter was shy and wasn't dressed very well. Just before dinner, I overheard him arguing with Chloe on the phone from the balcony. I already told you my mom doesn't like you. I brought our daughter, didn't I? It's my family. You don't know anyone. It would just be awkward. If you're not happy, let's just get a divorce. I've had enough of you, Chloe. What did you think this marriage was? I told you we were done. We could be friends, but nothing more. I quietly closed the balcony door. The holiday meal was probably ruined for him. Thinking back, Leo had always been the perfect, smart, successful son. I grew up admiring that and tried to be mature and in control too. When his father mentioned the 10-year promise he'd made to Chloe, I felt proud, thinking his anxiety meant he cared about me. I told him Chloe wouldn't come back, but what I really meant was that I was mature enough to handle him having an ex. To me, a breakup didn't mean cutting someone out of your life entirely. That's why I was okay with him staying in touch with Chloe. Things like matching profile pictures seemed silly and immature to me. I never thought he would actually break up with me, and so finally. At first, I didn't take it seriously. I thought she was just being jealous and throwing a tantrum. I tried to be patient with her, but then she made a scene in front of my students and slapped me. It was humiliating. I was supposed to be the one in control of our relationship. I had spoiled her, and she had become unreasonable. So I stopped trying, figuring she would come back to me like she always did. I never thought she would actually leave the city or that our parents would take her side and start setting her up on dates. I was furious. I swallowed my pride and went to her, thinking I was being the bigger person, but she calmly told me she had made her mind up. Later, I dated other women, believing that was the adult way to move on, but none of them worked out. They all reminded me of Maya in some way, just as immature and unreasonable. One of them was particularly dramatic, causing a scene at my friend's wedding. When she broke up with me, she said, "That woman was right. You can't wake someone who's pretending to be asleep. It's not that you can't cut ties with Chloe, it's that you enjoy the balancing act. You're disgusting. You deserve to be alone." Her words stung. Maybe it was because she reminded me of Maya. The truth is, I acted like I had moved on, but I was secretly watching everything Maya did. I saw her get promoted, buy an apartment, get a cat. I saw her become poised and successful. During that time, my own life felt like it was drifting. I ended up sleeping with Chloe, she got pregnant, and we had to get married. Our life together was a mess. I couldn't balance things anymore. Everything I was once proud of, my composure, my control, was gone. And yet, Maya seemed genuinely happy. Her career was successful. She found someone who loved her, and she was the one who was truly in control. She was the one who had really moved on.